First of all, we have a very interesting topic on automation in body fluids by Dr. Early Ivan. She's a professor and head of department of Sri Manakula Vinayanagar Medical College, Puducherry. She has an experience of more than 20 years. Her keen interest is in hematology and cytology. She has published almost 21 papers in national and international journals. Over to you, Dr. Early. We will be introducing Dr. Nimi once Dr. Early. Welcome, Dr. Nimi, as well. Dr. Early, over to you.
Thanks for the nice briefing introduction, and thanks for Kaho for giving me the opportunity to have this small lecture on this body fluids and its automation. Okay, so today's topic is about the body fluids. And as we know that body fluids will be in the body cavity, can be a physiological and pathological. Why I am telling it is physiological means normal pleural fluid will be amount to less than 50 ml, or if the CSF it will be around adults, it will be 90 to 150 ml, or in the case of the peritoneal pleural fluid it will be 15 ml. So these are the physiological quantities we are assessing in the normal person. But when it goes as a higher level, this is more than the limited levels, we have to analyze the body fluids. And one thing we have to keep in mind that body fluid analysis is not for the screening purpose. It is the one which we have to arrive for a diagnosis, at least near to the diagnosis with the clinician. And we should have a thorough discussion about the clinical history of the patients and with the other parameters. In this context, I want to tell is a unique specimen that is received from the patient and it's sent to the central laboratory, and it should go for a multidisciplinary testing. That means it should go for pathology, cytopathology, biochemistry, then microbiological analysis. Even for the molecular level, the body fluids should pass. And in our department, as I am the pathology department, I can see the fluids mostly from the cerebrospinal fluid, serous fluids, usually the pleural and peritoneal fluid, and normally from orthopedic clinics and rheumatology clinic, we used to get the synovial fluid samples. But very rarely we used to get the dialysis, peritoneal dialysis fluids, as well as the pericardial fluids. So coming the commonest one, and it needs more diagnosis, is the cerebrospinal fluid, because it is the emergency diagnosis and emergency thing which we have to give in the labs. Usually we used to see. So, but one thing we have to see in the pre-analytic sample collection, it should reach from the collection to the processing area within 1 hour. That is the highest time for the collection, processing, and the report giving. Because it is one thing, CSF is an hypertonic solution, and most of the cells, normally there should not be any cells in that, and mostly it will be the white blood cells and red blood cells, and which has got its limited stability since it is a hypertonic solution. And what will happen, the morphology will change and it causes lysis, and these neutrophils, if it's present, it will add for the other cells in the analyzer parameters. The common indications which used for the analysis of CSF may be the commonest and most will be inflammation or causes meningitis, which can be seen in the adult or elderly or as in the pediatric age group, where the clinician needs the diagnosis of which cells are commonly seen. The next things will be subarachnoid hemorrhage or any other bleeding disorders, encephalitis, barrier dysfunctions, any metastatic tumor deposits. Usually the hematological malignancy, usually the lymphoma spread, and multiple sclerosis. So usually in the reference range for cell counts, all the standard books and articles which use this, the total count should be 0 to 5, and mostly it will be WBCs. Sometimes if it's a traumatic capture, there will be the lots of RBCs will be there. Here we have to differentiate this traumatic capture with the subarachnoid hemorrhage. And mostly the cells will be the lymphocytes and the monocytes. But as such, there should not be any granulocytes, and not a good number of RBCs should be there in the CSF. Seeing the fluid itself, we can make a little bit our diagnostic procedure, because if you see the bacterial meningitis or TB meningitis, it will be slightly cloudy. As for the postgraduate teaching or undergraduate teaching, we should tell the word as cobweb appearance because of the increase in the fibrinogen content in the CSF. But viral meningitis, fungal meningitis, as such tumor, it usually gives us a clear appearance. In subarachnoid hemorrhage, we can have the xanthochromic appearance will be there. So if you usually, most of the laboratories, we used to go for the analysis of the cell counts. And this is a dictum. If the bacterial meningitis, the total count will raise up to the 10,000. But as such, viral meningitis, fungal meningitis, it is less than 500. That is around 300 will come. Tuberculous meningitis, once it's 500, but it is cross-infected, it will become even 1,000 or 10,000. But one thing we are seeing in this thing, if you make the differential count, the neutrophils will carry more in the bacterial meningitis, that is more than 70% or more than 500 neutrophils will come. But in case of viral meningitis or chronic lymphocytic meningitis, the predominant cell will be 200 lymphocytes, around the count will come. Tuberculosis also 200 lymphocytes will come. But here is the practical difficulty will come, and you have to see the CSF which we have got in 3 ml or 5 ml for the pathology department. Rest will go to the clinical biochemistry, microbiology, or sometimes for the molecular biology studies also. But in the appearance itself is a viral meningitis, it will be clear in appearance, and tuberculous meningitis long-standing means more than half it will have the cobweb appearance. Fungal meningitis is it's a very rare specimen to be get, but in that case we have to confirm with the microbiology. The next part I want to tell on a few things about from the biochemistry side. Actually, we have to give more importance for the protein and glucose. As such, in the bacterial meningitis like tuberculous meningitis or acute bacterial meningitis, the protein content will be very high because the protein material, the bacterial cell wall or protein also will be added to this. But in case of the viral meningitis, it will be normal. But in vice versa, in the glucose content in glucose is less than 40 in the glucose content in bacterial meningitis as tuberculous meningitis. But in viral meningitis, it will be normal or slightly decreased. With other types of fungal meningitis and everything, it's usually glucose will be decreased and the protein content will be slightly raised. Next, moving to the pleural fluid, its contents there is parietal pleura and visceral pleura, and the content usually about the 15 ml in an adult person. And due to the defect in the absorption and as well as reabsorption and secretion, what will happen? There can be an effusion in the fluid in the pleural space. The effusion can be due to two types, either it will be transudate or exudate. That is our headache where we have to see, because the causes for transudate and exudate will be different. The transudate causes will be congestive cardiac failure, liver cirrhosis, or due to nephrotic syndrome or hypoalbuminemia. In this case, there is an imbalance between the plasma-oncotic pressure and hydrostatic pressure. But in other way, exudate causes will be usually the inflammation, pulmonary infarction, or pulmonary embolism. When you see the pleural effusion cytology, usually the volume was very less and the cells usually will be the 60% of mesothelial cells. But other cells will be 5% lymphocytes, 5% of neutrophils will get. But we have to add up of the biochemistry parameters like protein, LDH and glucose. This will be the normal levels of glucose of 90 to 120 and protein will be 1 to 2 grams per deciliter. When you do in the pleural fluid analysis, we have this is the normal is less than 1,000, keeping that. The transudate also will show the slightly higher than 1,000, but exudate value will be the total count will be more than 50,000. Here also we have to differentiate whether it's lymphocytosis or neutrophils. If the lymphocytosis is that it's a chronic etiology, it can be tuberculosis in our country, sarcoidosis, or can type of malignancy. When it's neutrophils dominance, it is emergency treatment, that is it can be empyema or pulmonary embolism. And 1 or 2 fluids may comes with increase in eosinophils, that can be usually will be the asbestosis, malignancy, or pulmonary embolism. And some of them will have the traumatic capture will be there, but if it's having the hemorrhagic background, we have to think about non-small cell carcinoma of the lung also. So this is how we have to differentiate transudate and exudate with the 1,000 number. Less than 1,000 is usually transudate, more than 1,000 is exudate. In this context, the neutrophil count also will be high in the exudate. Here, if we refer to the biochemistry parameters, in exudate also the total protein count will be more than 30 grams, but in transudate will be less than 30 grams, and LDH level is more than 200, but here is less than 200. And this ratio is very important, that pleural serum protein ratio. With this ratio only we can definitely make a transudate exudate value. Moving to the peritoneal fluid, minimum there is 50 ml of fluid collection will be there. And it's a normal peritoneum. The causes of ascites is always a pathological means. And because of portal hypertension, congestive cardiac failure, pulmonary hepatic, nephrotic syndrome and malnutrition. This is also the hydrostatic and oncotic pressure changes will have the ascites with the conditions with the normal peritoneum. In the disease peritoneum like tuberculous peritonitis, subacute or bacterial peritonitis, pseudomyxoma peritoneum and vasculitis, there will be the more effusion, more ascites will be there. Usually it will be the ascitic fluid or peritoneal fluid is usually transparent, is normal. When it becomes straw colored, we have to suspect of cirrhosis, liver failure, all this condition. And cloudy, that is the tubercular peritonitis or subacute bacterial peritonitis will have the cloudy appearance. And chylus is also lymphatic obstruction. Total count is usually normal with less than 500 and neutrophils should count maybe less than 250 cubic millimeter. That is the normal thing. Bacterial peritonitis, as is, the total count also will increase and neutrophil counts also will be increased. In other conditions like chronic conditions like tuberculosis and malignancy, there is a lymphocytic predominance will come and more than 500 WBCs comes. In this context, I want to tell that if you make a cytology smear from the tuberculous peritonitis or any lymphocytic chronic infiltrate lymphocytis, there is a reactive mesothelial cells will be reduced in cases of the tuberculosis, but in cases of other inflammatory disorders, the mesothelial cells reactive population will be very high. These are the biochemistry parameters which are using for the assay. If it's 0.3 to 4 grams, we usually see in the normal protein level, but it's increased in tuberculosis and subacute bacterial peritonitis. In the case of glucose, 7 to 10 grams is normal, but in TB and it will be lesser. The MLS will be higher in pancreatitis, pancreatic pseudocyst, and pancreatic trauma or intestinal strangulation. From the rheumatology clinic, we used to get the synovial fluid. It's a very minimal fluid collection will be there. But in this context, we have to see for the analysis, plus we have to see under the microscope to see the crystals. So sodium heparin is usually recommended as an anticoagulant for the synovial fluid. But if you use lithium heparin and oxalate, what will happen is it will usually have the artifacts along with the crystals. If the viscosity is very high, we have to add with the saline or hyaluronate to specimen that 400 units can be added to 1 ml of synovial fluid, incubate for 10 minutes, 37 degrees, then you can go for the analysis. Usually it gives a count of less than 200 with predominantly of WBC, and the neutrophil count should be very, very low count. That is, out of 200 should be only 25% should be, that means 20 to 25 cells should be counted for neutrophils and no red cells. This is a normal synovial count. But according to the American Rheumatic Association recommendation, they have divided into the synovial fluid analysis into 5 categories. Here, out of these 3 categories are very important. That is, non-inflammatory means less than 2000 will be the total count of WBC and less than 25% will be the neutrophil. But it's an inflammatory pathology. It comes up to 50,000 and neutrophil is more than 50%. But please remember, when it comes for the septic arthritis, the count is too high to more than 50,000 and the predominant population will be the neutrophil, and if you see the fluid, it will be very thick. And today's topic actually for the whether how we move from the manual to the automation. Earlier we are using the Fuchs-Rosenthal chambers, Nuba chambers for the cell count. But what happens for the manual count? Inter-observer error is very high. We need the very highly technical persons, means those are seeing the slides regularly, and we have the inter-observer errors are more, and long time it will say turnaround time is increasing. So in that context, and how to preserve the specimen for the second person to see, to confirm it. So all these things are we are encountering with the manual procedures. So we are just moved for the automation of the body fluid analysis. So basic principle is we are using the scattergram. What will happen is, this is the area we are going to see the RBC and platelets, and total count will be nucleated cells we are going to count. That can be the WBC count and mononuclear cells. These mononuclear cells can be, it can be shape of lymphocytes or monocytes and can be the mesothelial cells. The next important cells we are going to see is the polymorph neutrophils. This is the neutrophils and this is the mononucleus. This estimation is with the cell size. But if you go for the forward scatter, what will happen? We can see the high fluorescence of body fluids. And this is the area where you can see the mesothelial cells or the reactive mesothelial cells or the tumor cells, because this is the area which measures the DNA density. So usually what happens is we are used to count as total WBC differential of the analysis is related to the WBC count. But if you give the total count, if you are using the research purpose, if you are using the extended IPU, what will happen? We can have the polymorph neutrophils, mononuclear cells, and other cells like eosinophils, neutrophils, lymphocytes, and mononuclear cells will be there. So this is one advantage when you are using the extended IPU. So what are the benefits when you are using an automated analyzer? Some analyzers will go with the complete blood count mode only, but some analyzers will have a separate body fluid mode. Whatever may be, the final benefits will be we can reduce the turnaround time in the laboratory. That is a good quality indicator for a lab. No sample preparation, no pre-preparation, like if you have no need for adding hyaluronidase or no heparin samples, no sample preparation is needed. And we need a very minimal small quantity, especially for the CSF analysis where they are going to give 3 ml to 5 ml, and we have to divide in all the laboratories. Our volume will be very safe in this. And there is even the lower limit of detection can be done when you reduce the background detection. And if you're going for the two-part WBC, we have the polymorph neutrophils and mononuclear cells, because these are the cells which play, whether it's a transudate or whether it's exudate or whether it's a pyogenic meningitis or a lymphocytic meningitis, whether it's a septic arthritis or other chronic arthritis. And if you go for an IPU mode, research four-part, we'll have the other differential like the eosinophils also we can make out. If it indicates a flag sign, we can know that we are in the wrong place, show the abnormalities, we can make it show with the manual count. And now QC material is also commercially available to check their quality assurance. But there are some limitations when you're seeing as such, when you're going for the research mode, sometimes depends upon the fluorescence which takes the DNA parameter, means it's very difficult to detect the reactive mesothelial cells from mesothelial malignant cells, and sometimes the aqueous samples is at present is very difficult to attain. So what are the recommendations is you have to critically review the scattergrams, histograms, document it to detect the abnormalities, and follow up with the manual method for all types of body fluids. Some labs we are using the urine analysis instead of the blood count analysis. The same principle only. This also will detect WBC, RBC, then cells, total nuclear bacteria, everything. Two-part differentials is polymorph neutrophils and mononuclear cells. Lower limit of detection also can be made, no sample preparation. But demerits is it requires the large volume where the CSF is very difficult to analyze with the urine automated analysis. And same thing also, the reactive and malignant cells is very difficult. Now, how I start my analyzer first? Access the background count of the instrument. This is very, very important, and we have to keep in 0.00 background. This is because if it indicates 0.00 only, 5 or few particles can be taken out by the analyzer. Even case of 0.0 means it indicates 50 or fewer particles. So this is first thing we have to make out to make the background count of the instrument 0.00. Analyze the instrument, generate a histogram and scattergram and document for not only one fluid or two fluid, for all the body sample fluids which we are receiving, and same rules will be done for acceptability of the results if you are using the peripheral blood count mode as for the body fluids. Perform as such the precision studies in the lower ranges and correlation studies which we are doing for all types of fluids. Now, one defect is automated differential limited accuracy. This is the most important point because we have to process the fluid then and there, and sometimes we can use for the refrigerator purpose for 24 hours if you are keeping inside the fridge 4 to 6 degrees. Increased fragility, otherwise there is increased fragility and rapid degeneration of the cells suspended in the various body fluids. Neutrophils, which is usually we are planning to detect, that will be the degeneration changes will be there, and it blend with the other population on the current hematological instrumentation. So here in that I want to put ICSH guidelines for automated cell count, how the specimen handling, that is from the type of container, transportation and storage, which should be according to the guidelines. And the sample stability should be make sure that there should not be any cellular deterioration or there is no cell lysis, no bacterial growth. The pre-treatment in case of synovial fluids, we have to be take care. And whatever thing is, whatever we are doing with analyzers, we have to have a, if there is a flag sign or we have got much abnormal counts, we have to go back for the manual count or with the cytology smears. Performance can be assessed by precision, accuracy, analytical sensitivity, specificity, reference range should be made, linearity, and patient correlation. So background for check for CSF, particularly we have to see for LOB. If it's more, you have to report the LOB, line of blank, and cleaning cycles has to be given for the mission. If there is a flag sign for each parameters, because it indicates spurious results, there can be a platelet counts will be the cell debris will be there. So what we have to do, you can repeat if the fluid is existing or go straight away go for manual or wet preparation. And one more thing, if you are using the complete blood count mode as in the analyzer, we have to use the express the same units for the body fluids also. Quality control can be done by internal quality control and external thing. Internal quality commercially available reagents we can use. Then specific body fluid mode is when we are using the separate, because here we are using the same control. Here we have to use the separate control for the body fluid if you are using separate mode for that. Proficiency testing for the technical persons is a must. It can be split sampling or blind testing can be done. And better you have to go for an inter-laboratory control with the other enable accredited labs. At present, it is by the quality managed, EQUAS is by the quality managed professional laboratory service of Ontario, and we are following the College of American Pathology. Finally, the take-home message is automated measurement of the body fluids and appropriate technical validation of the count help to improve the result quality and their time to report. Actually, automated analysis, we can use, the TAT can be reduced, everything can be done. But when it gives the enormous results, we have to shift to the manual count, and proper performance of the instrument has to be kept for the documentation. So thanks for the patience for hearing.
Thank you, Dr. Early. You know, there are sometimes fluids like prostatic massage, fluid, then synovial fluids, obviously. So what are the challenges, or like you rightly, I mean, for that input of matrix effect, which is, very important. How do you, what is your experience in these rare fluids? Like you have synovial aspirates where there may be crystals, or there may be some kind of serology which clinicians may expect us to do onto that, apart from what is known like LDH or, so what is the experience in that? Because this may be viscous fluids possibly. Have you tried them on your analyzers with versus manual? Can you share your experience, Dr. Early?
Fluid, madam, actually, sometimes if it comes in viscous, we can dilute it with saline.
Okay.
I have done. Sometimes some books have been telling that we can use the hyaluronate thing, but we never tried with that. Okay. And most of the time when we have the history, we used to see for the crystals. So okay. If it's an X-ray, we'll try it, madam. Otherwise, we'll go for the manual and we go for the cytologic smear. Because okay. The anticoagulant which you are using is heparin. We have to use it. Otherwise, if you are using lithium heparin, it can cause us with the artifacts. But I don't have any personal thing with that synovial fluid. Usually we'll go for the manual thing because the fluid that comes usually will be hemorrhagic.
Absolutely. There is one question from one of our delegates. What is the maximum time allowed for transportation of each fluids? I think you have already covered it in your presentation.
Usually that guideline says within 1 hour, everything should be the collection, processing, report, everything should be ready within 1 hour, madam. Because the setting, but otherwise, if it's from other site, other labs or something, it should be processed with the temperature that has given with us around 4 degrees we can keep. Okay. That's what better. Because otherwise, what will happen? The degeneration of the cells when it comes with the protein background, it will be more. So it will mask. It will comes with the other cells, and it will mask the neutrophils or anything.
Absolutely. They say, obviously, I think it's a very interesting question. Why not semen analysis on the analyzer? I think they have more motile, the components of semen. I'll take the liberty of answering it because I have worked on this too much. So there is a lot of element of, sperms into the seminal fluid. I guess that will interfere into the analyzers, isn't it? So that's why no semen analysis on these analyzers. I hope, Dr. Early, I'm right. Have pertaining to semen analysis. Right. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.